Well, I usually get up around between 5 and 5:30, and I make some breakfast, and I might do some paperwork if I have to. Then I go down to my fields. First of all, in the winter time, I go and feed my cattle and my horses, and then I'll start my day working, plowing or cultivating or weeding, or finding my crew and getting them together to go out on the field. And every day is a bit different. Sometimes I have to go and get one of my vehicles fixed, or go do some mechanical work myself, or fix fences. There's never enough time. Farming for me, it limited what I could do. It showed me my limits, and I says, well, I have to I can't go for a week in the mountains anymore. I got to. This is what I have to do. This is my life. So you kind of have to accept that, and you have to accept the fact that you have to go and look after your cattle and horses if you have animals. It's care, and same with your plants. So you have that. That's what's telling you what to do, not somebody. So that's what I mean about power. You have the choice. Well, I think in today's world it's not necessary, because when we depend on an industrial system for our survival, we might protest all that and think that we're defeated and so on, but it still works, But if we want to get our power back and be able to do things for ourselves and not pay other people to live our lives for us, we have to be devoted. We have to learn stuff and stick with it. It will define our lives instead of us defining it by saying what maybe. I've always kind of pushed myself, pretty hard, and I've always believed in doing things by hand, and I would say, that you don't succumb to your pains and aches and tiredness or whatever. You exert your willpower to do what you have to do. Sometimes you have to stay up all night, especially if you have cattle. Like if there's a cow who's going to calve tonight, I gotta, in the winter time, I gotta be there whether I feel like it or not. And I'm not going to get old gracefully. I'm going to my favorite poem about getting old and going down hard is Dylan Thomas. It's rage against the dying of the light. That you don't want to get old. You don't want to die. We have this. I'm not the kind that'll take ayahuasca and try and experience the death experience and the euphoria of dying. And I hope I have that when I die, but I'm not going to bring it on. It goes along with just self-discipline, and it's physically demanding. And I'm an old man, and I suppose if I had spent the last 20-some years sitting on a tractor, I wouldn't be as strong as I am today. And so that's, people go and exercise. I don't do that. I do my work. Yeah. I think for a person to learn horses out of a book is pretty difficult, and with information. And if you don't have the some sort of connection, like a lot of people I find that with their first introduction to the horse, they treat it like a machine. Like you say whoa and the brakes are on, And to me it's more like being on a boat in rough water, that there's always movement going on, and you always have to be in touch with the movement with horses. You can't just say, oh, I get that figured out, and then drift off. When you do that, your horses drift off. So it takes a lot of focus. For me, it's a discipline. It's actually maybe like somebody doing the yoga or something like that, because you really takes you out of yourself, makes you focus on, and yeah, you have to be like that to make it, the horse thing work for you, and keep even temper. So if you get angry with your horses, you're in trouble, right? You know, they feel that right away, and they don't. It takes, you have to be stoical, yeah. I think it's a lesson riding the horse. It keeps you humble, because you know, you're a tractor, people get on a big machine and they have that power. With a horse, you have to be polite. You have to ask them. You have to get their willingness and attention. And with a tractor, you don't do that. And my name is Vince McIntyre. I'm 67 years old. I was born in the west of Ireland. I'm a farmer, and I do woodworking in various. I'm a jack of all trades, in the college.
How long have you lived here?
I've lived here since 1979. I found this place by accident. Decided to camp here with my girlfriend in 1979. She was found here. Made our temporary camp here 30 years later. I think if you go and work in a automobile factory and you put 4 bolts in a radiator, and that's all you know how to do, and you're dependent on being in a certain way with your superiors, otherwise you lose your job. You can't be real. If you have a mortgage, you have to say and do things that you don't want to do. And if somebody that has in that form, it limits a whole lot of things about it. And if when I have people that come want to learn something of me, I just come and watch me. I'll show you how I do it. And that's where I start with people. That I demand that people be observant. To actually explain stuff to people. I have a hard time with that. That's not the way I like to do it. I don't want like if you're in the field and doing things a certain way, I'll show you how I do it, and then I'll see how you get it. And I like horses, I like the idea of horse farming and a clean way of doing it. Also takes a lot of skill. I decided that's the way I wanted to do it, and also my land was not very suited to tractors. The land that I had access to, because it was side hill and slope and all that. And in the old country, that kind of land that was the most practical thing to use on was horses. And I decided that's the way I was going to do it. And I still do it that way. But most of a big percentage of my land work is done with horses. And I have an apprentice that's getting quite skilled at. I'm getting old for now, for long days of ploughing. So my apprentice is beginning to do most of that for me. And I just like the animal way, draft animals, rather opposed to using a machine to do it. Whenever I can, I'll use the horses to do stuff. Milking a cow is one of the best meditations I can think of. So, you feel that this work that I'm doing is totally meaningless to me. Going out there and putting 3 bags on and making a bunch of money, and any amount of it, I got so that this is just playing figures for the government. It's not very effective, and it justifies cutting down more forest. So I decided I'm going to try not to have to do it. And that's when I decided to farm. It felt like overwhelming, and I wondered if I could do it. And my horses are on trains, and that was the only experience I've had with horses. That was my childhood. There watching, I didn't really have to take it seriously. I remember thinking, riding around with a tractor in southern Ontario, thinking I'm not going to do this in my life ever again. So maybe that was some inclination to action, because I remember fondly my childhood, the horses and cattle, all that way of doing it, watching horses and cars go down the road, and I'm less extreme now, like I've come around to more technological stuff. Then, and so I had horses to train, harnesses to figure out, machinery to fix, and so on. So it was pretty overwhelming. And I find that hauling water in a bucket is much easier than fixing plumbing, for instance, frozen plumbing in the winter and so on. So you don't set yourself up for so many disappointments, when you, especially when you live in a place where you don't have any infrastructure like power, so on. You might think that I spend a lot of time on my own, but I don't. And when my alone time is precious to me, and I'm not really a type that will go visit, but most of my connection with people is through the stuff I do. And that was probably another reason why I'm not fond of machinery and tractors and so on, because it cuts out your communication with people. And I find that the more mechanical advantages you get, the less need you have to communicate with people, and so it dehumanizes the whole thing, and I think that's what's wrong with one of the things wrong with industrial agriculture is it's a lonely life. You have all the machinery you need to do everything, and so that's why I have this thing for traditional ways, not just to say, well, that's the old way, to me that's often the good way. That's work ethic, with you gotta be careful around, you have to, I figure working from the heart and working with a sense of freedom is, you gotta have the balance, You have to have the discipline to get up in the morning, and you have to have courage. You have to be courageous, and you have to put up with discomfort and all this stuff, and then you have to see what you're doing as being very important, and maybe a part of your survival, and then you can do what I do. But I've never been really big in doing stuff for myself. It has to be bigger than myself, whatever. I have to have a motive for what I do. Otherwise, I'm totally lazy. If it's to take care of my own needs and I'm totally lazy. Even fixing my hands, I let things go too far before I'm not motivated that way. So what motivates me is working with other people, but it has to be not just, it has to have some meaning to it, like people like you, for instance, that come into my life that that I've worked with, they're my heroes. Yeah, we have to have our heroes, and we have to have our. You see the good in humans, eh? And that's the way I find the good in humans, the people I work with. I find out who they are and what they're made of. And I might seem harsh on people and hard on people, and I am, but I'm never going to be different. Because I demand your attention. You know, this isn't something that you might play at, you know, because I don't play at it, you know. I could run over with my horses and smashed up when I got up, and I kept doing it, yeah. So it's, to me, life is do or die, and then you're living, you know, and I can go and work in the field, and it actually makes me feel stronger.
What is that?
Why?
What is it that makes you feel stronger?
I think it could be just a physical thing of being on the ground, one thing, and it's also that you're in out in the weather, and that you're preoccupied with other stuff rather than yourself. That you're out, you're observing weather and conditions and all this. It takes you out of yourself. But when you're on the land and you're farming, your life is full, and it's almost too full. It's almost like you're almost overwhelmed all the time. So you end up doing stuff that you have to do, not by somebody telling you what to do, but the elements or you know how things are going in the field and all this. This is what directs you. It's not some human voice, some power tripper in your life that's you call the boss, eh? And I don't like to have that relationship with people that hate workers. I want people to come and work for me that aspire to do it themselves with what they learn. And that works well. And it's not that they don't get rewarded. I just don't like that kind of relationship, because it brings you back to the union and the rules and all this as opposed to working from the heart. And if people that come to work for me are not working for the heart, they're in the wrong place. Because the reward of going out there crawling rows in July is hard work. And if you're doing it just because you're going to get $11 an hour, it's not enough for that kind of work. But if you're doing it so you can learn to do it well, and someday do it yourself, then it's worth your while doing. So that's why I have this thing for traditional ways, not just to say, well, that's the old way, you know. I mean, to me, that's often the good way.